At one of our students' houses, so we got to see. We met his.
Yeah, Messiah.
Yeah.
So you spent the night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we brought our tent because these boys would just line up, 7 in a row on a little bed, and we said we'll just bring our tent, and we'll say, oh, well, they have a tented camp down there. We'll set you up and. We set up our camp, and he said, there's hippos that come out at night, but we have an Askari that will come around. And all the Peace Corps told you in Naivasha was, tents look like hippos and shadows, so you be careful. And so sure enough, we're sleeping, all of a sudden you can hear this breathing. And so we're like, oh my God. And it sounds, of course, at night like it's right outside your tent. So we're like, well, what do we do? Do we open up our tent? We're going to get killed. No one knows where we are. And we didn't tell anyone in the Peace Corps that we're on this, field trip, because it would have been a telegram. I mean, we just sort of thought we were going to go. So then we kind of unzipped the tent, and you get out, and you could see the silhouette of them, feeding, and we're like, well, where's the Askari that they're talking about? And I said, we should have known that. So then we kind of walk over, and you can hear the Askari snoring. So he's sleeping. So we're thinking, this is it. At least we're together. We're going to get trampled because they can't see very well at night. Right. So it wasn't a very restful night, but it was one of those times where it was that sheer, kind of like those commercials where they kind of expand back onto the world from that one it was just sort of like, we are in the middle of really nowhere, and no one knows where we are, and they're going to find our tent and tent stakes splintered apart, and we'd be trampled by these, and I don't know, I'm like, are we overreacting? Is this not a big deal? Because and it ended up being fine, but it was one of those indelible images of, this is one of those great ideas that we'll never do again, taking them on this trip. But I know the kids had a good time because, we did.
And all of the tea drinking, there was a lot of drinking of tea.
A lot of chai.
And just how interesting it is to drink hot tea in a hot house and and not have any ventilation, and it was just, there were lots of moments when you really didn't want your stomach to make you out to be a bad guest, just, I don't know that I can physically drink this tea right now.
I would drink it for
There were times when you would
usually drink it and then switch cups. So then they'd fill hers back up, so then you had to figure out what's the right amount where they would leave it so you wouldn't fill it up. But friends would invite you over, and then you have chicken, and it was just sort of, we learned quickly, though. I think Naivasha was a big help. I mean, when you walk by the restaurant, you guys have chicken, and they look, and there's 4 live chickens, and so we'll have those, and and it took about an hour to slaughter and cook, but it sort of was a nice introduction to this idea of, and then eating all of your food and then drinking your drinks. It was just different ways of, they're like, why do you keep drinking your soda? And it's like, because we're used to kind of eating and drinking at the same time. They said, no. You should eat all your food and let your food start to digest. Then you can have your, just things that they do culturally that we don't necessarily do, but you sort of pick up on quickly because you're trying so hard to fit in, and you already stick out enough. How can you sort of let them know that you're willing to learn and try these things? And the teachers would always get tea and bread with butter, and it was just not very good, but I would eat it every day because they would. And then it was hard because you were able to kind of deflect it.
Yeah.
And then I would, say, well, I'm going to get her bread, and sort of.
But it was hard too. I mean, wasn't a big fan of the goat meat, especially the goat meat that had been around for a while, that had gone kind of gamey, and to try to explain how you could turn down goat was just it was so hard. And then
because they just love Bill Clinton. Kamau just love. I mean, they could not. So when our first year we were there,
oh gosh,
Bill Clinton, they send you that rote letter and the picture of the headshot, and thank you for being in the Peace Corps. So as sort of a gag, we took the headshot of Bill Clinton and taped it to his desk, and I mean, the smile on his face, just like the biggest samaki, he kept calling the biggest fish.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton. We love Bill Clinton. It was just hysterical to see. So we'd say, look, Bill Clinton knows me, because it'd be the formula, "Dear Drew," and thank you for your service. I said, see, the President of the United States. That's how important we are. He soon got our sarcasm, but at the beginning, it just sort of. It was interesting to see what things that they just.
Well, and then of course, in our arrogant American way, for the 2000 election, we said our system works so well. We are going to know we were sitting in the staff room and we said, we are going to know by the end of the day, we're going to turn on Voice of America and they're going to tell us who the president is going to be. And wouldn't you know, I mean, it was, who was the winner, right?
Right.
And we talked about that for days on end. How could it be Bush?
They just love that the Americans could blow this, and that, well, isn't Bush's, his brother is part of, he's in Florida, and,
They had the conspiracy theories down because they said, look, they said, look, America is just like Kenya. If you think our system is corrupt, you've really learned something from the Kenyans. And it was really interesting.
It was.
Because
I'll never forget the sulking back to the school when we knew that the election was not decided and that everybody knew, and then we came in and said, we'll take our shots. We were sort of, unlike your rigged elections. Ours is going to be a very clean affair, and then of course it was one of the biggest blunders we've had. So it was very, that was hilarious. But
it was great. It was good to get a little bit of pie in the face.
Absolutely, that was humbling, very humbling. Near the end, all of the elder men had these just beautiful walking sticks that they would use, the certain wood, and take all the cow fat and rub it on it. And we had a guy, that would made a bunch of them we brought back for our brothers and dads and things, because we came back after a year for the Christmas holiday. We came back for a couple weeks. But before we were leaving, it's like, I've always wanted one of the ones that looked like the real thing. So I'm walking with, hand in hand, holding hands with my assistant principal, and just saying, I just really would like one of these sticks. He's like, well, have you seen one that you like? And I was like, well, like that guy's right there. 5 minutes later, he's like, here you go. Figured out that he's like, he's like, oh no, we'll just get him another one. It's no big deal. I was like, well, I don't want to take this stick. And then of course the guy's like, it would be my honor for you to have my walking stick. So, when we show our own kids these sticks, it's just sort of, they were a very giving people. I mean, and that somehow it would all get paid back. I mean, these guys knew each other in this small village, but not real well. But, just sort of like it was interesting to see this community and how, as hyper connected as we are today, how somehow things got done. We had the parents come for Parent Day. Which was one of those experiences where, the classic, we got to put on a razzle and dazzle show because, the parents are coming, so we want to have science experiments everywhere, And so we would, take an onion and show them under the microscope that it's made of cells, and trying to explain to that, and just to see these kids take what they've learned in English and translate it into Maasai, because all the parents are dressed in this traditional garb. And even while having them explain the idea about the sun and the earth, holding a flashlight and turning it, it was just sort of, that's when you could kind of step back and, I have no idea what they're saying to their parents, but this is sort of pretty incredible to see them explain, like the oxygen test where you'd capture oxygen and then you could take this little flame and then the flame would, whoa, everyone, all those mamas, all the clicking that they do, and it's like, it's sort of that sort of like, this is this incredible collision of you know, and my parents happened to be there that time, so then they're seeing, you know, your kids working with these kids and their parents, and these parents just so proud. We contemplated quite hard staying that third year for, what was it even called?
It was a mentoring. It was like a transitional person.
And we sort of look at that as that fork in the road where we came home, we got jobs, we had kids, you sort of were falling back into that life that you abhorred when you were living overseas, and you wondered if that was the point where did you stay overseas and continue sort of a different life. And so, you know, I'm very happy with where we are now, but you always wonder, if you would have stayed, what would have happened?
Which is why it's so appealing to think about doing again.
Yeah, I guess that's what keeps our creative juices flowing, is that, you know, someday. I know a lot of people ask us, you know, would you do it again? And we really hope we do when our kids, you know, when we retire. I mean, there was some inspiration. We had a couple older volunteers who had kind of had a career and then said, you know what the hell, we're going to go back. One older woman did it in Poland and now is in Kenya, and so that's been a real goal of ours to say, you know, we hope that we can still keep that on the horizon as a possibility. Maybe not in Kenya or even Africa, but this idea of, you know, going back and getting involved. So it's been so fun that this has sort of been coming around, this whole anniversary, and it kind of putting the stories online, and it sort of has brought back that resurgence, because it's been amazing that it's been
a long time.
A long time. I mean, you sort of thought, it doesn't feel that. And I remember when we went to see someone in Detroit talking about, and he had served in Kenya in the 70s, and it was the greatest time of his life. And, you know, you sort of think, well, I'm sure the other things have happened too. But now I know what he means. You know, he may have been, that it's an indelible impression that it makes on you and your worldview. And we hope to get back, both as, you know, we want to take our children there someday and show them where we were. And